Hello and welcome to Sincerely Elvis Presley. I'm Sean. Whether you're new to the channel or a regular viewer, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I want to take a little look at Elvis's performance in 1961 in Hawaii for the USS Arizona Pearl Harbor Memorial. But before I do, I wanted to take this opportunity to say happy birthday to my dad, because this video will go live on what would have been his 91st birthday. Now, it blows my mind to think of my dad as 91. I lost him when he was 58, so I never really knew him when he became an old man, so to speak. But, I think about him all the time. He was obviously a massive influence on my life. I miss him greatly, and I just wanted to wish him happy birthday wherever he is. So, happy birthday, old man. Right, USS Arizona Memorial. So I don't know if this is showing up, but this T-shirt is actually commemorating the 50th anniversary of that performance at the Bloch Arena. So this T-shirt was a limited edition that came out in 2011. I'll put it has got a replica of the poster on the back that I'll put there on the screen. But yeah, this was something I found on eBay. It was sealed, never been opened, and it was issued by the Pacific Historic Parks Trust, what have you, and it came in the package with it. Came a replica of the ticket for the Bloch Arena show, and on the back it says Bloch Arena Benefit Concert Limited Edition T-shirt by early 1961. Fundraising for the yet to be completed USS Arizona Memorial had lost much of its early momentum. The $500,000 necessary for construction was a distant goal with no serious prospects on the horizon. When Honolulu Advertiser editor and World War II veteran George Chaplin appealed to a national audience for support, writing an article and sending it to newspapers all over the country, Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis Presley's manager, responded by calling the Advertiser and saying, "I know a young man whose services can be a big help." With admirals and generals vying with teenagers, housewives and rock and rollers for tickets, the March the 25th, 1961 Bloch Arena Pearl Harbor concert was a big success, netting over $54,000 and raising national awareness of the fundraising campaign. The USS Arizona Memorial would go on to secure many more private, state and federal donations, with constructions completed just in time for its Memorial Day 1962 dedication. So it says the front of this ticket is a reproduction of the original $100 ticket sold for the benefit concert. 300 of these were printed for the show, with 100 reserved for a special ringside section. Elvis Presley and Colonel Parker bought 30 of these tickets and handed them out to patients and corpsmen of the Tripler Army Hospital. So it says that this is a strictly limited T-shirt, is a strictly limited edition and will not be produced or sold after December the 31st, 2011. So yeah, it was quite a little find. I think it cost me about £11. So yeah, anyway, that's a little aside, but I thought, yeah, if I'm going to wear a T-shirt for this episode, going to have to be this one. So let's get into the concert itself, and let's look at this little beauty from the Memphis Recording Service. Now, this is the original Such a Night in Pearl Harbor. This has been re-released on their Budget Camden label as One Night in Pearl Harbor. That is much easier to get hold of. This one's pretty hard to get hold of. You get the same disc. In fact, I think you might get something slightly extra on that disc, if I remember rightly, although I can't remember what, but if I do find out, I will stick it on the screen. But what you don't get is the book that comes with this, because obviously it's a budget release. But yep, so this was Elvis's last concert until 1969 and his return to Vegas. So, you'd got 2 dates that had been performed shortly before this in Memphis, and then this one. I think I mistakenly said last time that this one was a matinee and evening performance. It wasn't. This was just one performance. So you've got basically 3 shows that Elvis gives in 1961, and then that's it for 8 years. So there's your back of this brilliant release, and this is so fantastically put together. This around this time, this is the way that MRS used to release their one disc output, in these bigger than CD size heavyweight bookcases with the CD dropping nicely into a recess that fitted beautifully into the photograph, but actually brought it out in colour. There's your track list, and you do get extras here. It begins with Elvis arriving in Pearl Harbor. Elvis receives honorary award. Then you get the actual concert, and then you get Elvis salutes the USS Arizona, a preview radio broadcast paid by Colonel Tom Parker of Elvis singing songs of faith and devotion. So this was like a radio show that was done. So your CD runs 78 minutes, 32 seconds in total. Yeah, that nicely completes it. And this is, to me, the best way to listen to this concert. It has been released in other forms. I think it might even be on the Follow That Dream release that we'll get to. But this is the best version. Unless, of course, they've remixed the Camden one. I don't know if that's been remastered or not. But nevertheless, this is a fantastic way to listen to it. It's not perfect, and it's never going to be perfect because of the nature of how it was recorded. But nevertheless, just, it's another of those historical records. And I think I said before, I don't always find the historical record events that were kind of not properly officially recorded. I find them important to have a copy of, because that's what they are, historical records. But I don't always find them the greatest listening experience. Actually, this is a fantastic show. And even though the sound quality is not 100%, it's not as if the record company went in there and with their recording equipment and gave us a professional recording of it. But for the nature of what it is, the show itself, it's just a glimpse of what might have been if Elvis had continued playing live throughout the 60s, and toured, and maybe toured the world. It just blows your mind to think what we could have got, because it's, this is a completely different Elvis live to the 50s Elvis that we'd heard before. But it wasn't to be. This was it. The last time for 8 years that he would perform in front of a live show. Do you think he's got enough Hawaiian layers there, do you think? You barely see him. So there's him arriving. Just look at the quality of these booklets. It's fantastic. This is early-ish MRS, and they really did set their stall of how the quality. In fact, I recently saw a YouTube channel talking quite disparagingly. They not picking out MRS, but they showed MRS album covers and just referred to them as bootlegs, and there's no need to have these because they've already been released on FTD. And I kind of took exception to that. I just thought, no, that's not true at all. One, well, yeah, they may have been released on FTD, but usually MRS up the sound quality. So you've got that. You've got the fact that MRS are more widely available than FTD. You can get MRS in any record store, you can get them on Amazon, you can get them all over the place. They're not as expensive as FTD releases. And, let's face it, if you haven't got the FTD releases, you're not getting them now, not without putting your hands in your pockets and paying a fortune. So what these always provide to fans is an accessible way of getting those recordings that they might not have already got their hands on in great sound quality, with great care and attention to detail with the booklets and the information given. So yeah, I'm not going to hear anyone dismiss MRS as, oh, you know, there's pointless, they're bootlegs. One, they're not bootlegs. Let's get the terminology right. And two, there's a very, very, very great point to them because they provide a valuable service for fans. So I'm not going to hear anyone ever diss MRS, I'm afraid. Not without sticking up for them. Not that they need me to stick up for them, but I like to put my 10pence in. But yeah, look, I mean, look at it. Look at it. What a fantastic booklet. And that's the thing, you know, it's great that they're releasing these again on their Camden label to make people be able to get them. That's brilliant. But, you know, these original releases with these books are sort of the gold standard, really. And, you know, if you can pick these up, if your budget was stretched to it and you can find them, they are increasingly hard to get hold of. They're well worth it because, you know, I think we must be, 83. There's Elvis going back to the memorial later. I think he went there a couple of times after. Yeah, he did. There we go. 68, I'd say that was. So yeah, you get all this information and the concert. Great shot to finish with. And I think you do get a bit of plug-in for MRS, other products, and why not? So yeah, there's your Such a Night at Pearl Harbor, also available as One Night in Pearl Harbor without the booklet. So let's get on to the FTD Big Daddy, if you like. Rock Around the Block. The usual safe hands, as I say it every time, David English and Paul Granlund. This one came out in 2015. This one is very hard to get hold of and very expensive. There's certain titles of FTD that actually you can get your hands on quite easily, but this is one that's pretty hard to get your mitts on, unfortunately. So you do get the concert on this. I don't think it sounds as good as the MRS version, but let's have a little look at the book. So where do we start? A little background of the USS Arizona there as it being sunk when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in 1941. What's this? The USS Bennington passes the wreck of the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor. So you get some background. Now, there is a documentary on Elvis and the USS Arizona. And at the moment, certainly here in the UK, it is free on Amazon Prime. But a lot of people sang a lot of praise about that documentary. So I did give it a watch and I found it quite dull. You know, apologies if I'm in a minority there, but wasn't really what I was expecting. So I wasn't blown away by it, but if it's your bag, give it a whirl and you might well like it and think I'm talking rubbish, which is all fine. But yeah, it wasn't for me. I just found it very, very dry. It felt to me like the sort of documentary you used to get forced to watch in school when they wheeled those TVs out on those big trolleys. Now, whether we've got any younger viewers that are thinking, what's he? TVs on big trolleys? What is he talking about? But I'm sure there's quite a few of you out there that know what I mean. But yeah, I didn't really rate that, unfortunately. But there we go. So yeah, we get now background: departure from Los Angeles Airport to Honolulu International Airport, Hawaii, March the 25th, 1961. Honolulu International Airport. shots of the crowd. Elvis getting off the plane. Usual drenched in Hawaiian lays. If we get that shot of him virtually disappearing underneath them. I seem to be plonking more and more on him as he passes through the waiting crowds. What a fantastic book. Just focusing on this one event and a whole book on it. That Red West, looks like it. The layers are increasing to the point that his head's virtually being submerged into them. I mean, really, that is getting daft, isn't it? Look, he's just one gigantic ring of flowers. Oh dear, look at that. Look at that, amazing. He can barely sort of move, weighed down by his rings of flowers. Trying to get in his car, thinking, oh, get me in the car, I need to get these off. Arriving at the Hawaiian Village Hotel. Then we get press conference at the Carousel Room, Hawaiian Village Hotel. Elvis meets the press. I just think it's, it's so impressive that this is a couple of, a few days leading up and then an event, and you get a whole book just packed with detail, just looking at that one, just all these brilliant photographs. Just awesome. I think if there's a list to me of FTD books that would be nice if they found a way to repress and repackage, and this is definitely one of them, because it's it's such a landmark. His last concert for all that time until he came back in '69. Just awesome. So he's still going for his sort of tux look at the press conference, and he's managed to keep the Hawaiian layers to a minimum so you can actually see where he's going. And you get lots of photographs from that event. Look, they're multiplying again. He's walking through. Not more. I can't take any more of this. But as we know, Elvis would never say no to a fan, because that's the kind of guy he was. So, Bloch Arena, Pearl Harbor, Honolulu. There's a sort of crowds and bits beforehand. I thought what was interesting is when we saw Elvis appear for the two shows before this in Memphis, he went for two different tuxedos for his look. But here, I guess, rising to the occasion for this big performance, he goes for the gold lame jacket again and drags that one out. Obviously not with the trousers, because he'd long since stopped wearing the trousers with it. But yeah, he goes for his gold lame. That customised J200 with him. Just beautiful. Fabulous book. Fabulous record. And then we get story of the bootleg release, actually. So this was a bootleg album that came out. That was it. And you get a little bit of story on that particular release and how it came about. So yeah, fabulous book, Rock Around the Block. Highly recommended, but as I say, not very easy to get your hands on this one. Not very easy at all. So the last one I have to show is a Joe Tunzi publication. And this is Elvis Hawaii 61, featuring the USS Arizona benefit show. So this leads us nicely, actually, because this book starts with the benefit show and gets a lot of detail on that. And then it moves into Blue Hawaii, because obviously Elvis has gone out there for the benefit show, but then pretty much directly afterwards, as he's in Hawaii, he starts work on Blue Hawaii. So the two sort of blend nicely into it for the topic of this book, and kind of in a way will be a nice segue into next week when I look at Blue Hawaii on its own. But because this starts with the benefit show, let's have a look at this. Now, when this came out, you did get this reproduction of the ticket that came with it. So that's a nice little reproduction. I mean, it's even got the perforations for what would have been the tear-off strip. So, because as we saw in one of those books, there were several different sorts of tickets made available. In fact, this one has the printing cost of this ticket paid for by RCA Victor for this 100% USS Arizona Memorial Fund benefit, replica compliments of JAT Publishing, not for sale. So it makes it clear that it's a replica, but it's a really nice replica. So you got that one, and then you've got that one I showed earlier, which was the replica that came with the t-shirt. So they are two different versions, but as we saw, they were different versions of the tickets available, because obviously you had your high ticket items and then your cheaper seats, if you like. So that's quite interesting. Also with this Tunzi book came this CD, which was Elvis 56 to 61 Elvis Presley interview CD and audio portrait. This is still sealed. I haven't actually got around to listen to it. Whether I ever will or not, maybe not. I like listening to Elvis interviews, but I'm not going to listen to them for pleasure. It's just a personal thing, you know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of it probably has appeared elsewhere, but yeah, that one's stone sealed actually. So Hawaii 61, where do we start? This book is dedicated to the 1,177 sailors who perished in the ship during the attack on Pearl Harbor, December the 7th, 1941. It's a nice little touch. I really like the font, actually. Really like the font of that. It looks so period. So then we get the poster for it, and then newspaper article. And various extracts from newspaper articles reproduced. Then we get, what's this? Oh, that's interesting. So there's Elvis revisiting the USS Arizona Memorial. Then we get the Blue Hawaii soundtrack recording, because obviously that was March the 21st to March 23rd. So just prior to that show, he's recording the actual soundtrack to Blue Hawaii, and we do get some shots from the studio. And then we go into the arrival in Hawaii, because presumably, where were we? Yeah, so the soundtrack recording was done March 21st to March 23rd at Radio Recorders, Hollywood, California. Finish off with that and get the departure. So then he heads for Hawaii. The arrival. So we should see the lays building up as he walks through the crowd. See, that's interesting. His hair looks kind of different there, because a lot of the time it's kind of squared off a little bit, but there it's more sort of fun in Acapulco style, and it's got the edges are off. He's going on about Elvis's hair again. See, you never get me. It never takes me long before I'm back on Elvis's hair again, but you know what I mean. But you might not know what I mean. So what's there? There's the press conference. Some great shots from that press conference. He really does look. I feel, although Elvis was a character that suffered from nerves, we know he suffered from stage fright. I think at these press conferences he really did seem to excel. I think there's something almost more comfortable about him there than, say, when we looked at that last time and the Tennessee State Legislature. I've got to say that again, and I can't. Legislature. Yeah, in those kind of really formal occasions, it somehow doesn't come across as at ease as he did at something like a press conference. Maybe there was a sense that he just felt it was fair game at a press conference, and they were there to ask their questions, and he was there to answer them, and it didn't really faze him. But I get the impression that he did feel more at ease at press conferences than he did at those big formal sort of occasions. But I could be completely wrong. So then we get shots of and that's the thing, you know, it's because we have the recording, we know exactly what was performed, and you know, they can comment on what was performed with more certainty than they can with the Ellis Auditorium shows, where we don't know exactly what the set list was. I mean, I'm presuming that is the same gold lame jacket. It looks the same. I can't see why you'd have had two. However, if anyone knows any different, let me know in the comments. But yeah, one with has he got the stripe down the trousers? Yeah. So the trousers are very similar, sort of formal trousers that he wore on the Ellis Auditorium shows, but spiced up a little bit with the old gold lame jacket. If you haven't heard this particular show, I'd urge you to track down a copy and give it a listen, because it's a fantastic set list and he performs it. It's just such a great show. So, okay, so then we've left the concert and we're now March the 27th, so only 2 days later, right through to April, filming Blue Hawaii. So I wonder if, I guess it must have been, and I haven't gone into it in any detail, but I guess it must have been arranged that way. You know, well, we're going to be, you know, we know when the schedule is to film the movie in Hawaii, so we'll plan that concert, you know, around when you're there, because it's very slick, isn't it? March the 25th, he performs his concert, and by the 27th, which would have all been built in way advance, the schedule for recording the movie there. But yeah, Blue Hawaii, as I said, definitely worth an episode on its own, but you get a feel for this book is delivering on the fact that it's kind of showing you that period of him in Hawaii in March and April 1961. What have we got here? that's a bit random. So for some reason at the end, they obviously thought, well, we've not filled the book out. What should we do? So we're now in the Memorial Auditorium, Buffalo, New York, April 1st, 1957, because Elvis is wearing his gold lame jacket. But I'm not sure I'd have done that. I don't. Yeah, great photographs as they are, I don't really see the point. And then backstage at that show, you know, if you're going to call a book Hawaii 61, and then you're going to shove a load of 1957 shots at the end, I wouldn't personally have done that. But hey, and then we've got shots of him in Hawaii in 57. Okay. I mean, that's a little more understandable as he's in Hawaii, but yeah, I think that's right. And then we get a bit more blue Hawaii, so that 57 bit was a bit odd. Right. Sometimes with some of these books I do think, oh, what are you thinking? And then we jump forward to Aloha from Hawaii and Elvis with Jack Lord. Again, yeah, it's like, find a theme and stick to it, really, because you didn't really need those extra bits. It's a good book. I'd recommend it. Not easy to pick up, but not as stupidly hard as the FTD. But let yourself down a little bit for me in those few pages that were kind of tacked in for no reason. But yeah, there we go. So yeah, you know, if I'm gonna recommend a book about the concert for the USS Arizona Memorial, it's got to be Rock Around the Block. This is fantastic. If you can't get hold of this, I would actually say, as a second choice, I'd go for this with the book in it, because that is a fantastic little book. Nice little compact version, plenty of information, plenty of photographs, and of course you get the fantastic sound quality on the CD. So they'd be my choices. The Tunsey book isn't bad, but it is sort of throwing the kitchen sink at it, because yeah, I get the blue Hawaii bit, but as you saw, there's some bits in towards the end there that I just don't know. I don't know why. So yeah, I'm not sure I can give that one a hearty recommendation. It's a decent enough book, but I think if you want a record of that show, if you can get the FTD, get the FTD. If you can't, try and track down that MRS one with the booklet in it, because that's fantastic. Well, there we are, 1961 March, Elvis's last concert for 8 years. We wouldn't see him on the stage again until July, August of 1969. So, yep, the movies are going to come in thick and fast in the next few episodes, starting, of course, with Blue Hawaii, the one that kind of launched what was to follow. So I hope that was enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed seeing that stuff. You may well have seen it all before, but I thought I'd try and put it together and show what I do have on that landmark concert. If you did enjoy the video, if you could give it a like for me, that would be great. If you haven't already subscribed, if you could do that, that would be much appreciated. So next time, we'll take a little look at Blue Hawaii. Until then, take care. Ta-da.
We'll meet you again. May God bless you. Adios.